done a little work off camera, just refining some shapes, working on the leaves a little bit. I'm going to come in and show you what I've been working on. This is a unison. It's a really wonderful, warm, kind of mid-value or a little bit lighter than mid-value green, which is great for that backlighting on the leaves. So this is what I'm using. And these that are in front, I'm going to make sure I have good sharp edges because they're close and they're part of the focal point or the story. So I'm going to make sure that they are well articulated. I can also use the edge of a leaf to help create a petal. Rather than always creating the petal, you can use a shape next to it to help create it as well. I don't know if you can see how much brighter in chroma it is than what I was using before. Just bit by bit, I'm trying to really intensify that light. This leaf is almost just as brightly lit, backlit as the others. I will keep it somewhat soft though, because I don't want you to linger here a really long time. So I'm softening the edge of this cast shadow. Again, this is also very lit. I don't want that to be a really strong edge though, or contrast in value or in edge. So again, making sure it looks like it's the same kind of light, but without the same emphasis and strength of light. Does that make sense? Again, I'm just tapping very gently with my little finger. I'm not smudging or rubbing hard, just enough to soften, take a little of the intensity back out. Now this leaf is actually lit directly with direct light, and it will have a different color, and I will show you that in a minute. This is still backlit. Again, I'm using that edge to help create the petal. It's just a fun way to work. Same thing here, I could come down in between to create that petal. Let's put a little hint of a couple others. I'm still not too worried about final details on the shape of the leaves, just making sure I have them reading correctly in terms of value, temperature, color as well. Yeah, that's kind of looking pretty good. Over here, it's the same thing. We're going to have a little more chroma here as well. Now you notice I'm trying to keep this light consistent with this light because that's this beam of light coming through and catching, backlighting this leaf and these petals. That all needs to be in the kind of the same place. That way you get the sense of it. It's light casting this way. Here, these leaves again are directly lit, so they're not going to have this glow these others, and these are down in the shadow. There's one right here that's going to have a glow. I'm going to quiet it down though, because I don't want I'm spending too much time over here. Okay, I think that's about all I need to do with this Richardson or this unison. Nice green. I think it's called, well, let me tell you here in just a minute. Green 26. It comes in a tube like that. I just broke off part of it because I don't want paper on there. I want to be able to use the side of it. Now I'm going to use, this is a Jack Richardson handmade soft pastel. These are pretty good. This is kind of a, I don't know, olive green. I think it works well for the parts that are directly lit, catching the light straight on. Over here, it's going to be the same thing. I want to make sure, once again, that the light that's being cast is all in the same thing, so you get this sense of a cast shadow from the flower itself. I know it's like watching grass grow. I'm so sorry. It's kind of a slow, tedious process, but this is part of what makes it, I think, work. And read is just kind of careful and just meticulous. I do like drama in my paintings, but I kind of create it meticulously, if that makes any sense. That's a little too light. I'm just tapping it. Yeah, kind of liking that. Kind of liking that. So again, that's a Jack Richardson. A little harder, like the unisons are, so then you can kind of use it to get a sharp edge if you need to. Now, you'll see I've done a little bit of work on the flower itself. Making sure I have the right values for that middle part. That middle part's like a little bunch of tendrils that are trying to think about opening. You can't see most of them down in there, but that's why this one hasn't opened at all. The petals are tightly up next to it, is what I mean. The petals haven't opened at all. That's why this looks so much bigger, as it's already relaxing. One of the colors I'm using for that is another Terry Ludwig quinacridone. I want to make sure I'm not too orange and too red. I want to make sure you really know it's a pink. So this is a good one. Again, you have to press really hard. And I guess it's kind of like scrubbing it in. I think it creates more of a sense of it being a pink flower that's glowing rather than an orange flower. Again, I can use it to help establish the edge of this leaf by creating the petal that's behind it. This is a really luscious color. Now, I don't want to get too carried away in the background again, making it as strong as the front, because it needs to look like it's farther away. I like a sense of distance and space in my paintings, even though it's a close-up, so you don't get the same sort of vista that you do in a landscape. I do like to at least feel like there's some dimension to it and some depth. I am really pressing so hard. That's why you wait till this point when you think it's going to be your probably last layer on something, because it's hard and it's hard to put anything else then on top of it. more glow here. Well, I kind of like how this is going so far. Bear with me a minute while I close a shade. The sun just came out. Talk amongst yourselves. There. I was putting too much light on my tray, my Terry Ludwig pastels, and made it hard to see. Refining back and forth. Now that these petals are pretty well established, I can come in behind them and do a little refinement of the leaves. I've started making a few just marks to make it a little more gestural here and there. I like that. Make sure there's some variation in the leaves, because they're not like a picket fence. Should be some nice color transition between this direct light part, this cast shadow right in between, because it's kind of a soft edge. I want to have a little color, a little more chroma, I guess I should say. Same thing here. This needs to be darker, 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 darker. This too. I'm just scumbling back over here with that spruce blue 305 in the new pastels. It's just a really good workhorse for me for darks and for glazing on top of something if I need to quiet it down a little bit. Like here, this is all pretty intense. I don't want it to be so intense. So rather than painting it with more pastels, I just lightly glaze. I'm just using, like you can see the corner, and very lightly scumbling or sketching on top of it. Well, it doesn't obscure any rendering I've already done, but it does take the value and the chroma intensity down. Even that could stand to quiet itself down a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Refining, refining, refining. It's all refining, correcting, not being afraid to alter. This stem is kind of a red stem, and there's a little bit of cast light. So I'm going to use just the corner of this red orange. Not the corner, the side, the edge of the pastel. Is to kiss a little bit with some light. See a few places where I can put it in. Same thing on this one. This is that same red orange I was showing earlier for the tips of the leaves, which I will still come back in and add at the very end. This is really a pretty color, and it might even work for the seams on some of the leaves. Let's see. Some little pools of intense light here and there would be good. Right down in these joints. No, that one's too much. I do like to create little pools of light. An example would be just like a little spot. So it's not just one flat piece of light, one flat shape of light. And actually, if this one's lit this much, probably this one should be too. Like that. Backing up, backing up. This is still too strong. A few little lines for some detail here and there. I'm going to make sure this shape is defined properly. I want it to have a pretty sharp edge. It needs a little more of that neon quinacridone. Say that 3 times real fast. Yeah, that's better. I think this needs a little more glow as well, but it's of course going to be a different set of colors because it's a different shape and a different value anyway. It's a different part of the flower that makes it look like has some backlighting in it as well. This one doesn't have hardly any of that because it's still very closed. Hard for the light to get into it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy so far.